Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our special council meeting this morning. As usual, we'll start off with the roll call.
Councilmember Lewis.
Present.
Councilmember Carlson.
Here.
Councilmember McKeithen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Whitmer.
Here.
Mayor Delby.
Here. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Is there anybody here that wishes to make a public comment? Go ahead.
John Flaherty, and I live at 10 Camino Por Los Arboles. I understand that this meeting was called late last week. I just got word from it via email, and supposedly it's to do away with the full-time employees in the building department and replace them with contract workers. I am extremely upset that you people run something by us in this town in a haphazard manner like this, all of a sudden sneaking something through, and I'm extremely upset about this. And therefore, since I do have the public comments, and I don't know anything about the details of what you plan on to do, I do know some of it. And that is, we have full-time building department people. You want to replace them with contract people. First of all, when you replace a full-time guy who's been in the building trades his entire life and knows how Atherton works, the building department works, and he's got the continuity with the builders in this town, and then you replace him with a contract worker. I understand you have a contract worker who is the head of the building department. He's a firefighter, retired firefighter. He doesn't know beans about the building codes, and there's nothing to say that there's anything wrong with a firefighter. I am a retired Marine, and when I got into the building trade, I didn't know beans about the building codes either. And even after all these years, I still rely on the good judgment of the building inspectors to keep me right. And if you replace them with a contract guy, you don't know where they're coming from, what their experience is, and you have no really idea if they know what the hell they're talking about. The other thing is that the building department pays for itself. You should be looking at other ways to reduce costs. What I see happening is if you replace everybody with contract workers, all you're going to end up doing is having to hire more contract workers, because the building inspectors we do have are working overtime now. So you're not going to get a contract worker to work overtime. Oh, he might, but you're going to pay, and then you're going to hire more. So it's not going to be anything. Now that is what I have to say about this. My wife is interested in this also, Carol Flaherty, and she will be finding out what you're going to come up with here, and she'll be submitting written comments to the members of the council. Thank you very much.
Are there any other public comments?
Mr. Mayor, we might want to clarify. Public comments are for things not on the agenda. They're not this is not the time to discuss the specifics of the budget process. This is the time to discuss other issues that you might have within the jurisdiction of the town. And then the agenda item will come up next.
Well, I think for a special meeting, it's limited to particular items on the agenda.
On the agenda, well, no, public comments are technically available to anything within your jurisdiction. And it's supposed to be things that are not on the agenda, so that people can bring something to your attention that they might want to talk about, something else.
Okay, thanks. Are there any other public comments? Virginia?
Yes. Virginia Ruggiero, Stockbridge Avenue. I just wanted to say, in your discussions, I hope you don't cut your traffic control items. As you know, Stockbridge is one of the worst, and we have no controls at all right now. The digital stop sign is taken away from us. What I'd like to ask in the new budget is to have another digital stop sign on the north side of Stockbridge. We need control. It's just terrible. Number two, I hope you don't get rid of your loyal employees in all the departments. They've all helped us. You can call them and they'll talk to you and they'll be helpful and they'll try to solve your problems. And I think that anything you do that would ruin that relationship would be a mistake. Thank you.
Anybody else? I would like to just say one or two words here. As you probably know, we have serious financial problems in the town. We are spending $100,000 to $120,000 a month more than we can afford, more than we're bringing in, and therefore we're having to use our meager reserves. So we clearly have a financial problem, and we have asked our interim city manager, John Danielson, to come up with some ways in which we can make sure that we have a sustainable financial situation. So at this stage, I'd like to turn it over to our interim city manager, John Danielson.
Mayor and council members, if I could ask for a brief presentation from our finance director, Louise Ho, on giving an overview of our current status.
Good morning, Mayor and member of the City Council. The first slide I would like to present to the Council and the community is the General Fund draft budget for 2011-2012. The first draft was presented to the Finance Committee in April of 2011. That draft budget is showing revenue is to remain flat. And the reason it's flat is because as we are aware, the economy is not where we are. It's not in rapid recovery. And the property tax, even though it is going to be better than current year, fiscal year 2011, but it's not going to increase significantly like it has in the past. We are only projecting about 1% increase based on discussion with the assessor's office. The other component is, of our budget is the operating expenditure budget. In the 2012 draft budget, we're assuming no salary increase or growth, but the increase in expenditure is to come from high employee benefit costs, which is a continuing cost in medical and pension. As we're all aware that CalPERS have lost about 34% in fiscal year 2009. And we are seeing our safety pension cost increasing from 32% to over 38%, which is just the employer contribution. So the status quo budget for 2012 currently, that is in the draft form, is showing a deficit of $855,781 if we were to continue operation today as is. And that $855,000 is assuming no salary growth again for all employees. Ideally, as good business practice in our budget, we should also budget for funding that is to help with our current building improvement and IT infrastructure. We are not able to do that at the present time, and as the council is aware that we do need building improvement. We are continuing to need new carpet and IT, like new phone system. So those are the challenges that we are facing in the 2012 draft budget to try to bring it to a balanced budget. The next slide is trying to give the council an idea the challenge that we are going to continue to face from 2012 and beyond. The town currently, based on since I've been here from late 2008 all the way to now, we continue to have expenditure outpace our revenues. The state of California is facing a huge deficit, and we are all aware that legislature in Sacramento cannot come to terms on even the state budget. And there's no tax extension on the ballot as the governor wished to have. So the $100,000 COPS grant that we are hoping to receive is still on the line, and probably at the present time, the governor is trying to push the extension so that we can continue to get funding. And I want to also point out that in the 2012 budget, we are restoring the police department from 17 sworn officers to 19. But the number 19 is pending on the $100,000 grant from the state to help fund the 19th position. The 18th position is also being funded by the increase in parcel tax use. Overall, staff is predicting that from 2012 and beyond, unless the economy and the housing market and the town has the ability to increase revenue, the long-term future of the town is unsustainable due mainly to employee costs and definitely the retired medical, which is an amount that the town needs to fund, even though SB 45 does not require you to fund it, but it's good business practice, and I believe the council also indicated that they would like to see 100% funding, so we are paying off our debt on a consistent basis. And lastly, which is also an important piece, as you will see at the later slide, the town's reliance on the parcel tax. Currently, the parcel tax is to sunset on June 30th, 2014. And whether we can continue to have that will be subject to the community and the voters. This is just to give the council and the community an idea where we are in terms of general fund structural deficit. The reason is the town has a structural deficit. We are different than other municipalities like Menlo Park. We have no sales tax, we have no TOT. So we rely completely, almost 80% on property tax. And this slide is showing that I have summarized the deficit that the town has experienced since fiscal year 2008 and what we currently budgeted for 2012. And the next two columns is to show how the deficit has been closed in the past and currently is to rely on use of general fund reserve and also parcel tax to help with police services. I would like to point out on the 2010, the use of reserve is because we also have two legal settlements that cost the town $430,000. So I want to make sure that's pointed out and not this slide is to be not misleading. And 2011, we are also, the town have refunded reimbursed the $900,000 to the road impact fees for some incorrect charges in prior years. So those are also included in the use of general fund reserve. But you can see over a 5-year period, 3 actual and 2 projected, we have a $6.5 million deficit. We are proposed this year and next year to use about together with 3 prior years to use $3.4 million in general fund reserve, and our reliance on parcel tax for police services is at $3.1 million. This, I apologize for this slide being small, but this is a 5-year financial forecast that has been provided to the Finance Committee, and our Finance Committee have been chartered by the Council to come up with a 5-year viable financial forecast. This projection is assuming no salary growth for the next 4 years. We get the pension projection rates from CalPERS. We also projecting property tax growing modestly, like 2 to 3%, because staff will not believe that we may be able to return to our past growth in property revenue about 5 to 6%. So it's showing that in 2012, 13, and 14, we would still end up with a general fund reserve in a positive number. But 2015 and 16, I want to point that out clearly. This 2 years is assuming that we have no parcel tax because still subject to voters' approval. Those 2 years we are assuming that no parcel tax is being used for police services. And I would also like to point out that the town council